speaking of late night action, Solana, am I correct here looking at the show sheet that the Miami Hurricanes basketball team plays at 11 p.m. tonight?
Yeah, blame the ACC. I mean, they let these West Coast schools into this conference on the East Coast, Hawk. So now we all got to stay up to watch the Hurricanes, who haven't won a game in ACC play yet this season, by the way, play at 11 p.m. against Stanford. It's just ridiculous.
Was that the Stanford Tree?
Cardinals.
Yeah, they're the tree. No, they're the trees. They're the trees.
Isn't it the Stanford Trees? Or Tree,
Yeah.
Excuse me, the Stanford Tree?
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals.
Well, I don't know if they're playing in St. Louis anytime soon, but they've got the Stanford Tree tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Is that game on one of our stations tonight?
AM 790.
All right. Joe Zagaki's out there in Stanford?
You want me to text him?
Maybe ask Larry Nager to send some plays.
Just send over a play.
Just a play or two, just something,
Yeah. Not good.
I don't like that, by the way, because they are the Cardinals. But if your logo is a tree, then be the tree. Be the tree.
Right. It's like it's that cutesy thing.
You know what? It's cute. It's cute. There is a real good explanation. When the football team was good a couple years ago, they had a whole thing about it on Saturday morning, and I watched it. Obviously, I forgot, or I would defend it. But it means something.
No, it doesn't mean anything. It's stupid. It's like Auburn. Auburn are the Tigers.
Yeah, what are they? Aren't they the big tree or something?
So I'm supposed to remember the Auburn Tigers.
Serious. Doesn't Auburn have like a magic tree?
Well, no, it's dead because the Alabama fan poisoned it.
Right.
Yeah.
Wasn't so magic.
They have a tree, but there's a war eagle that flies over the stadium.
Right, so they're the War Eagle. Everybody talks about them being the War Eagle, but then they're the Tigers too. So I don't get it. Like pick one thing. Just pick one thing so I can remember one thing.
But so why are they the trees? Stanford?
Auburn?
Because it is weird. Don't they have like that dancing tree in the...
Listen.
Pizzola probably knows. He's logging in. I'm going to bring him on officially, but Pizzola knows sports more than we do. Why are they trees?
I couldn't tell you. There's a lot that confuses me in college football. I don't know. I've had so many questions over the years.
You know why Auburn has a magic tree?
No, I don't know the history of any of these college teams. I mean, what's the North Texas mean green? It's just a color. It's a mean color.
North Texas had a team. to be quite honest.
So the redwood tree appears on the university seal. So the band took it over to represent El Palo Alto, where it is, because they have a lot of redwood trees. So that's where the tree became indoctrined into the football team, because the band.
The band is on the field. Stanford, famously.
Of course.
All comes together. Rob Pizzola is here.
Symbol
on the
of
Toyota.
survival, standing tall through storms and sunshine.
A tree
is a symbol of survival, standing tall and through storms and sunshine.
No one's ever seen a tree get struck by lightning before. Those things go down.
I've seen trees get chopped down.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm seeing from Jimmy here. Stanford is called the Cardinal because the school's official color is Stanford Cardinal Red, which is a shade of red, not directly related to the bird. So they're the Cardinal, but it has nothing to do with the bird. It has to do with like Sherwin-Williams paint.
And the tree just adds another layer of confusion there. There's too much happening.
And they're supposed to be smart at Stanford, right?
They're too smart. That's the thing. You get too intelligent, then you start going dumb. You get intelligent, then it switches to dumb.
Yeah.
It's like Solana, basically.
He never got intelligent, though, Rob. He never hit the intelligence.
The starting point, yeah. The reason we're talking about it, Pizzola, is the Hurricanes basketball team. They're in Stanford tonight, which is an 11 p.m. tip-off for us here on the East Coast. But luckily, they stink, and no one's going to be listening.
Well, luckily for you, that would be what's called the chase game, right? 11 p.m. Eastern time. So you lose your money on the early starts, and you have a chance to win it all back with the late start. That's
problem
classic.
Is the
Hawaii
Panthers.
Is the classic.
Panthers don't drop the puck till 10 p.m. tonight. Because they're in LA, and so I can't chase that loss.
Well,
that early.
You play Panthers first period.
Oh,
there's your workaround.
How
That'll
about
end before 11.
Last night, I parlayed Duncan Robinson over 2.5 made threes with Jimmy Butler over 1/2 made threes. Cashed the parlay about 7 minutes into the game.
It's very nice. I had some Heat props last night as well. Just looking through.
What'd you have?
I'm gonna find it here quickly, but I have so many bets on a day-to-day basis that it looks like I didn't do too well in the Heat game. So we can actually just avoid that entirely. Actually,
well, next time you need some advice, just shoot me a text. Rob Pizzola, by the way, is on the Toyota of Hollywood hotline. He's a professional sports gambler from Canada, and he comes to us courtesy of Forward Progress, which is part of the Hammer Betting Network. Forward Progress produces daily NFL betting content. Keep you informed. You got 2 games on Sunday. We're going to get his picks for that. And you could check out Forward Progress on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow Rob on Twitter at Rob Pizzola. Hello, Rob.
Hello, Mark.
And I see you've moved into your new place, it looks like, looking at the backdrop there.
Yep, in a new spot. Office is set up. Took a while to get it going, but got it going over the holidays, and now I'm settled in now. I'm just, it's always a little bit, for me especially, very overwhelming to move, especially in football season as a pro sports bettor. Not ideal. My wife really wanted this place, had to make it happen, but now I'm settled in. I'm feeling much better. You can get to the day-to-day a lot easier nowadays.
Did you hire movers or did you lean on people?
So I hired movers. This was a very big point of contention in my wife, God bless her soul, but she takes after her father, who's my father-in-law's he's very cheap, is the best, very frugal is the best way I could put it. So he spent weeks trying to convince me that like we'll just all move the stuff together. Like, well, we'll do it ourselves. You save a couple thousand. I'm like, I'm not doing it. And it turned out this was in mid-December. It was the coldest day in December, the day I moved. Thank God we hired movers. I would have just given up after an hour. It's not. If
someone
ideal.
asked you to help them move, would you ever say yes?
I would, but I'm more likely to pitch in to help them just get a mover at that point.
Right.
Like
I would never even say yes. I think when I was younger, I would say yes and then bail, but I don't even think I would say yes anymore. I don't think anyone would be dumb enough to ask me to help them move at this stage of my life. But
listen,
if you do, that's on you.
I'm a 180-pound guy. I'm not lifting weights every day either. No one's asking me to move. Maybe if I'm moving, I'm picking up like the little boxes and carrying those around. I'm not doing the bedroom furniture and the dressers and stuff like no.
Do you have an urn that your grandfather's in somewhere? Because I'll be very careful as I move slowly.
Yeah, or I'll be the guy at the bottom of the stairs just directing the traffic. Right? I'll be that guy. But in terms of the heavy lifting, that is not. It's not in my repertoire right now.
Wow, y'all are blessed because every time there's some heavy crap, they want to call the big dude. Hey, come grab the sofa. A sofa? My back hurts.
You ever see those movers? Because we've moved twice in the last couple of years. Yeah, you get some of these movers come in. They just put the sofa on their back, and then they walk out the door. I can't believe what you're watching with some of these movers.
It's insane. I mean, you learn through experience what the tricks of the trade are. But yeah, guys carrying like an armoire by themselves on their back down. I'm like, holy, like you need to. No, he's like, I got it, no problem.
Like you want me to empty the drawers out? They look at you what? Empty the drawers out? Make more work for us? What are you talking about? How about you put more stuff in the drawers?
It's pretty crazy what they can do nowadays. Now, granted, we didn't move a lot. We bought new furniture, new couches, new bed. And so it wasn't like a heavy move by any, just like my kitchen table was pretty much the biggest piece of furniture. My desk here right now, which they took apart. But either way, I just don't want to deal with that. I am happy to pay for convenience. That's one thing in my life that I will do. You know, I pay for cleaners. I mean, Crowder, we talked about this a few weeks ago because you shooed the guy away that was going to come and do your grass or your lawn or something. Beat it. Right. Yeah. I'm that guy. I mean, I'll pay for, I just don't want to do this. I value my time. You know, I have a big property. I don't want to cut the grass. I don't want to so that's my whole thing in life. If you can, I'm all about time savings. I can invest that time elsewhere, and I definitely don't want to spend a full day carrying boxes around.
But when I moved, the only concern is that, you know, some people might have sticky fingers because I had some, we'll call them cigars rolled, and I couldn't find them after they moved, you know, my dresser.
It's called taxation.
Yeah. I mean, it happens. I'll tell you this, a week after I moved, one of the movers showed up at my house with the truck, and they're like, we forgot this painting of yours. Sorry. And it was labeled office. So I just took it. And then my wife came home. I'm like, oh, Diana, they forgot this painting. They dropped it off. She's like, this isn't ours. This is, why did you think this? I'm like, I have no idea. It's labeled office. You labeled everything office. She's like, no, this is somebody else's painting. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do now? Call this guy
put that
back?
Up on eBay.
Yeah, it's done now. Somebody else lost the painting. It doesn't look to be that expensive. I'm not hanging in my house or anything, but yeah, that's the problem with moving. If you have like sentimental stuff, you got to be careful. Got to be careful.
You said you bought like all new couches and stuff. What'd you do with your old couch? Because I imagine, this is maybe my imagination, but I think you've told us before that you used to you smoke a little bit. You were kind of into the heaters. All your stuff smell like cigarettes?
It does not. I don't smoke I never would smoke in the house, everything outside. I did have a really, really great basement couch that didn't fit our new space, like the way that I wanted to. And I just gave it to a friend. I felt so bad, like selling it to somebody I didn't know. I just ended up giving it to a friend. I'm like, let it live on amongst my friends. You got a great spot for it. So the furniture just went to other people that I know. And I mean, if I had to sell something, I would have, but luckily people just wanted to take some of our stuff, and I'm happy to do that rather than it, you know, just going to waste or making a few $100 off it or something like that.
Offer up, Rob. Is there offer up in Canada?
There might be. I'm not familiar with it.
Man, great stuff on offer up.
Is it like a Facebook Marketplace type of thing?
Yeah, exactly. And then you get Crowder, Crowder traipsing around South Florida to get a $30 refrigerator. What are we doing?
Yeah, like I sold some stuff on Kijiji in the past before, and listen, I would do that again, but sometimes you don't know who's going to show up at your house, right? When somebody's advertising an ad online,
Crowder might show up at your house. Then what do you do?
You know, and I'm there. It's like it's a bedroom furniture set, and this 155-year-old lady shows up with her car. I'm like, well, what do we think is happening here? You know, it says in the ad you're going to need movers to move the stuff. You got like a Volkswagen. It's not going to fit, and I'm not helping you bring it down. Like. And that's when I said I'm not doing this anymore. So I actually got the movers. I tipped the movers a little bit extra. We made some stops along the way. They loaded the truck last minute with the stuff we weren't going to keep. Just dropped it at my parents' house, my friend's house. Boom, made those stops before they moved us in. So it worked out.
Speaking of heaters, Rob, just apropos of nothing, are you still coming south of the border for upper deckies? Like, are you still doing that whole thing?
I am not. I'm off the Zin train altogether.
Wow. No more Zindiana Jones? Holy
I did that for a month, and it was getting real. It was getting real. Like you you got a problem when you're packing like 4 or 5 of those at a time because you can no longer feel to. So I had to have an honest conversation with myself. I'm like, this is going down a bad path here. So I'm done with that. I still will come south of the border every now and then. I'll probably be in Vegas in April. I'm gonna make a trip to Boston in March. There's a sports analytics conference that I'm gonna go to. So yeah, I'll do that. But I'm not doing the border runs anymore. That those days are over, Solana.
Wow, man, rest in peace, Winston Churchill. That's crazy, bro.
Did you fire off enough of those, Solana? Or you got any more in the arsenal?
Good. Lamar Jackson. I could have gone all day here.
Jameis Winston.
Right. Yeah. All right. How about the games? How about the games on Sunday? Follow Rob Pizzola on Twitter, Rob Pizzola. You got 2 games on Sunday. I'm fascinated with both of them. Curious what you're thinking. So the early game is a 6-point spread. Eagles -6 over the upstart Washington Commanders.
Okay, so before we start, I haven't done this in a long time, but I feel the need to do it this week because we're at the point of the season now where it's very easy to price these games. It's really hard to find edges late in the season. So bet responsibly. Obviously, I'll give you my opinions on these games, but they probably don't mean much in the grand scheme of things. And I'm very much aware of that myself with the way that I bet stuff this week. This game opened 4.5 and has since been bet out towards the Eagles. And normally I would be in entire agreement with that. I think Philadelphia is better than Washington. I think Washington's coming off of a matchup that was really good for them because the Lions defense has been in shambles, and this is a different story. The problem I have now is that this game is being priced as if Jalen Hurts is 100%. And we actually don't have any idea because he injured his knee last game, came back into the game with a brace on it. They refused to even run the tush push with him when he came back into the game. He took a safety where he looked completely immobile at that time. Now you have a week in between, and we don't know what it's going to look like by game day. But if he's just 60 to 70% and he cannot run the ball effectively, it's going to be a completely different Eagles offense because they're very reliant on his ability to break the pocket and use his legs, especially in those short yardage type of situations. And I think that will really even the playing field. The Eagles should be able to run the ball regardless. Saquon Barkley, great back. Washington doesn't have a great run defense. They weren't able to stop Jahmyr Gibbs last week. But it's the other side of things where, if they can't establish that run and Hurts has to turn into a pocket passer, I think that's a very dangerous game for Philadelphia. That's not where he excels, period. So I could only look at Washington now that the spread is at 6. I'm probably not going to bet it. The Eagles defense is really good. Granted, they did see this Washington team not too long ago, and they gave up 5 touchdown passes to Jaden Daniels in that game. It was one of the worst. It was the worst the Eagles defense looked all season. And the earlier time they played this year where the Eagles looked really good, Jaden Daniels was injured in that game. He had a leg injury, hip injury going on. So it's really challenging to handicap this as a whole. My gut is that this is the right price in the game, but I could only bet Washington because of the injury concerns to Jalen Hurts. If you're looking from a props perspective, let me just take a look at Hard Rock really quickly, which you guys have access to. I like Austin Eckler over receiving yards in this game. It's at 22.5 at Hard Rock right now. He's getting way more run because Brian Robinson hasn't really been effective. But in particular, the Eagles have great corners. And you look back to the first matchup between these teams this year, none of these corners could break free from these Eagles DBs. There was lots of dump-offs in that game. Eckler had 8 catches. I think this is a game where Eckler will be heavily involved in receiving. So that's one prop I like. Austin Eckler over 22.5 receiving yards.
You'll have bets working, even if you don't bet a side, right? Like you won't sit and watch this game Sunday without having a bunch of bets working.
Oh, 100%. So I will likely have 10 to 12 props on each game. It would be a realistic estimate by Sunday. I also, in the professional space, we do something that's just called crossing. So essentially, we will find another group that may like the opposite side from us, and we will bet with them instead of betting through the sports book.
Really?
So, yeah. So the reason you do that is because then you're not paying VIG on the game.
Right. You're saving the VIG. That's
right.
Really interesting. I had no idea that existed on a large scale.
Yeah, it does. And I look for those as much as possible. So I might look for
is there a marketplace for that? Or you just check with other syndicates who you know?
That's basically it. There's about 6 to 8 people I could reach out to at any point during the week and be like, hey, we like this position, especially if we know that they like the other side, and we can find a VIG free price. So that might happen in either of these games. I can't say that it will, but if it does, I'll be on the Commanders this Sunday.
Would you ever do that one-on-one with someone? We'll talk about something in the show, and Crowder will say, let me book that for you. I'll book that bet for you. But I don't like making bets. I like making a bet with a sports book, not a person.
Well, yeah, because the sports book, they're going to pay you. and you don't know about the person necessarily. That's not to say Crowder
I don't
is
even like taking money from my friends. I don't like taking money from my friends.
Also, just a general rule of thumb, go with the word cross instead of book, just in case down the road you don't want any sort of indictments or anything like that. Be very, very careful with the terminology that you use nowadays. So when Crowder wants to bet against you, Mark, he wants to cross with you. He does not want to.
Interesting.
Yes.
Huh. The things we learn on this show.
You won't cross with me because you don't trust me.
No, I don't want to take your money.
But you're not. You're a terrible gambler.
Well, tell it to the Hard Rock app that I took for $90 last night in the first quarter. What about the late game, Rob? Chiefs are 2-point favorites last I saw over the Bills. This one is really a great game.
It really is. I have a pretty strong lean to the over, 47.5. The weather looks like it's going to be okay at Arrowhead. It'll be cold, but it's not supposed to be too bad for a late January type of game. I have a real tough time with this game because I want to bet Kansas City. I just want to bet the quarterback that constantly pulls out close wins better than any quarterback in history. And you can give me a million reasons why not to. The Bills are very good offensively. I mean, Josh Allen in these playoff games against the Chiefs has played really well. They just can't win. They can't beat them. The Chiefs there's something about that team where, and people can point to the refs or whatever they want to point to, but they have an ability to win close games at a much higher rate than any other team. And that's what we're facing here this week. If you look back to the earlier meeting between these teams this season, 30-21, the Bills won in Buffalo. In that game, the difference was turnovers. Patrick Mahomes threw 2 interceptions in that game, gave the Bills extra possessions, they won. From an efficiency standpoint, both teams are pretty equal. The Chiefs haven't turned the ball over in 8 weeks. I mean, they are playing perfect football at this point. The Bills' defense is probably one of the most overrated units in the entire league. If you look at their possessions this season, 39% of opponent possessions have gone into the red zone. That is a very high number. It's bottom 3 in the entire league. They're kind of like a bend but don't break defense. I just don't like that matchup for them against Kansas City, who's like a dink and dunk team, slowly, methodically work down the field. In that first matchup as well, there was no Hollywood Brown, no Isaiah Pacheco for Kansas City. Those are a couple more weapons as part of the offense. And I wouldn't read too much into the Chiefs' offensive performance against the Texans last week because the Texans have a very viable defense. They have 2 elite pass rushers. They have great cornerback play. This is very different. That's not to say Buffalo can't win this game because they definitely can. The point spread is 2. They're very live in the game. It's just whenever I see the Chiefs lined in these types of ranges, you're only going to get so many of those over Patrick Mahomes' entire career. And if you've been betting them for his entire career, you've made a ton of money already off of it. It just seems like a very valuable spot with this particular team that always wins close games. So it's a KC or nothing for me. I do think that there's going to be offense in this game, though. I mean, you look at Buffalo last week. Baltimore's offense, I mean, they didn't punt in the game. Lamar just threw a gimme interception down the field, and he had a horrible fumble. They did not punt a single time. They moved the ball consistently downfield. Buffalo's offense looked really good, even against two great defenses back-to-back in Denver and Baltimore. So I do think both teams will move the ball. Strongest look is the over, and pretty strong lean to Kansas City as well.
Rob Pizzola, follow him on Twitter at Rob Pizzola. Someone texted in, hey, should we bet the Doink bet for the Super Bowl props that you've done every year? Do you have Super Bowl props in your arsenal? Doesn't matter who's playing and what the matchup is, that there's certain props you're going to bet going into a Super Bowl matchup?
You can't say with certainty, but there are things every year that are commonplace. So, for example, the Super Bowl is going to get huge handle. Everybody wants to bet the Super Bowl, right? My dad, who doesn't even bet, wants me to bet 5 things for him every year on the Super Bowl. That's just what the Super Bowl does. And people want to bet things to happen in the game. Like, will the game go to overtime? Will the game have a safety or a 2-point? People want to bet the yes on that. So typically, I find myself betting no's in a lot of those markets. Now, that's not to say that everybody should, because some of these things might end up like I bet no Doink in the Super Bowl. What it was 2 years ago, I think, where there was a Doink. Yeah, it was like minus 500, minus 600. I lost that bet. And for some people, that would be crippling. Like they would be really. Yeah, it was. I mean, anyways, I don't want to relive that. I don't want to. But so there are certain things like that I think are regularly mispriced. But the like player specific stuff, I need to wait to see the matchup and where the lines are going to open up for those particular props.
You want to cross on the 2-point conversion for the Super Bowl?
We can talk. We're going to have an escrow though, where somebody like we'll pay Crowder beforehand.
How dare you? How dare you suggest an escrow? How dare
him, Rob?
Mark is the type of guy that will go double or nothing until he wins. He'll start at $5. He'll be down like 500. He'll be like, you keep going double or nothing, and then he'll finally win and call it square. That's Mark.
Rob Pizzola,
right now.
We appreciate the time. Again, Rob comes to us courtesy of Forward Progress, which is part of the Hammer Betting Network. And you can check out Forward Progress on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Follow Rob on Twitter at Rob Pizzola. Thank you, as always, for your time, Rob.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the games this week.